Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Girdhari Radha Girdhari Radhe Jaya Radha Girdhari Radha Girdhari Radhe Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada ke Grantaraj srimadbhagavatam ke, Samaveda Gora Bhakta Vrinde ke, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. So it's been quite some time since I was here in your company. What to speak of sitting on the seat of Srila Vyasadeva and given the opportunity or the service to try and glorify the Lord in His devotional service. So I hope that you will kindly say a prayer to Srila Prabhupada, to your spiritual masters, that I might be an instrument to repeat the message of Srila Prabhupada, that it might have some value. So we begin with our invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm sorry there's no verse printed on the board. I guess we'll say we're shorthanded. Bhakti Jamal, if he still does the service, he's cooking breakfast for you. So, anyway, if you have a phone or a book, we're on Canto 4, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 19, King Prithu's 100 Horse Sacrifices. We're on text 33. Naivatmane Mahindraya Roshamahar Tumarasi Ubhavapihi Bhadram Te Uttama Shloka Vigrahao Naivartmane Mahindraya Roshamahar Tumarasi Ubhavapihi Bhadram Te Uttama Shloka Vigrahao Naivartmane Mahindraya Roshamahar Arasi Ubhavapihi Bhadram Te Uttama Shloka Vigrahao. Please. Naivartmane Mahindraya Roshamahar Tumarasi Ubhavapihi Bhadram Te Uttama Shloka Vigrahao. Naivartmane Mahindraya Roshamahar Tumarasi Apihi Bhadram Te Uttama Shloka Vigrahao. Naivartmane Mahindraya Roshamahar Tumarasi Na, not. Eva, certainly. Atmane, none different from you. Maha Indraya, unto the King of Heaven, Indra. Rosham, anger. Ahartum, to apply. Arsi, you ought. Ubao, both of you. Api, certainly. He, also. Bhadram, good fortune. Te, unto you. Uttama Shloka Vigrahau, incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Brahma continued, let there be good fortune to both of you, for you and King Indra are both part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore you should not be angry with King Indra, who's none different from you. Next verse, no purport. Masmin Maharaja Krita Samachinta Nashamayatsmad Vaja Adritatma Hidyayato Daivahatam Kartum Manotarushtam Vishate Tamundam. My dear King, do not be agitated and anxious because your sacrifices have not been properly executed due to provincial impediments. Kindly take my words with great respect. We should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, we should not be unhappy or should not be very sorry. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest region of materialistic thought. We didn't repeat the verses, did we? Please repeat. Lord Brahma continued, let there be good fortune to both of you, for you and King Indra are both part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore you should not be angry with King Indra, who's none different from you. My dear King, do not be agitated and anxious because your sacrifices have not been properly executed due to providential impediments. Kindly take my words with great respect. We should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, we should not be very sorry. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest region of materialistic thought. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes a saintly or very religious person also has to meet with reversals in life. Such incidents should be taken as providential. Although there may be sufficient cause for being unhappy, one should avoid counteracting such reversals. For the more we become implicated in rectifying such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest regions of material anxiety. Lord Krishna has also advised us in this connection. We should tolerate things instead of becoming agitated. We could say these prayers together. Om Jnana-timirandasya Ginanjana Salakya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jigatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakapaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vivacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharne Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarne Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm going to read a couple of verses before beginning with Lord Brahma's speaking to King Prithu. It's text number 30. Lord Brahma addressed them thus: My dear sacrificial performers, you cannot kill Indra, King of Heaven. It's not your duty. You should know that Indra is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Deity is one of the most powerful assistants of the Personality of Godhead. You're trying to satisfy all the demigods by the performance of this yajna, but you should know that all these demigods are but parts and parcels of Indra, the King of Heaven. How then can you kill him in this great sacrifice? In order to make trouble and impede the performance of King Prithu's great sacrifice, King Indra has adopted some means that in the future will destroy the clear path of religious life. I draw your attention to this fact. If you oppose him any further, he'll further misuse his power and introduce many other irreligious systems. Let there be only 99 sacrificial performances for Maharaj Prithu. Lord Brahma concluded. Lord Brahma then turned towards Maharaj Prithu and informed him that since he was thoroughly aware of the path of liberation, what was the use in performing more sacrifices? Lord Brahma continued, let there be good fortune to both of you. For you and King Indra are both part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore you should not be angry with King Indra, who's not indifferent from you. My dear king, do not be agitated and anxious because your sacrifices have not been properly executed due to providential impediments. Kindly take my words with great respect. We should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, we should not be very sorry. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest region of materialistic thought. Now this last verse certainly goes in the face of the modern mentality of the conditioned souls. That if something goes wrong, you just try your hardest to make it go the way you want it. This is the problem that we have in this material world as conditioned souls. We're thinking that the universe revolves around us, at least it should, that we should be able to control it, and certainly that we want to enjoy it. In fact, these are two of the ignorances that cover the conditioned soul as soon as we come to this material world. One is called Vaikuntha Brahman, not Brahman, but Brahmana, ignorance, mistakes. Vaikuntha Brahman, it means that we think that everything should be eternal. Like no one wants to die. But old age, disease, and death are forced upon us. Why? Because we're accepting the body as ourselves. Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita purport, he talks about this process of Krishna consciousness entails understanding that we're spirit soul, completely distinct and different from the material body. And he says not simply theoretical, but practically and realized. One must realize this fact, so that one can truly take to Krishna consciousness, or fully take to Krishna consciousness. So we think everything should be eternal, whereas everything here is anitya. It's all temporarily manifest and it's always changing. Most of us don't really like change. It's like apartment below us or catty corner from us. The tenant moved out, and who knows what kind of tenant we're going to get in there, what kind of neighbor. Some people can be quite unpleasant. And so, boy, I wish that nice tenant had stayed in there, but that wasn't meant to be. It's just one example in my life. There's countless examples in all your lives. Second type of ignorance, avidya, that covers the conditioned soul is ananda Brahman. And that is that we think that everything is supposed to bring us pleasure. I mean, in a sense, it's natural that we would want everything to be eternal and full of bliss, because that's our nature. It's inherent within us, our constitutional position to always be fixed in eternality and supreme happiness. But of course, that's in the service of the Lord, and only in the service of the Lord, in pure bhakti, in love with Krishna. That's when one fully experiences such things. Eternality, full knowledge, and bliss. But we think, everything, and we try our hardest to eke out some pleasure from these senses, from the assets we accumulate, from the body, etc. Relationships. It's our nature as soul. It's just all being misplaced. And Sanatana Goswami, in conversing with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, everybody thinks I'm really learned. I'm accepted as a great scholar, given him tremendous respect because of it. He was the minister, the advisor to the king of Bengal. So he wasn't some, dummy. He was quite learned. But he said, I don't even know why I'm suffering. I don't even really know who I am. So I'm certainly anything but learned. So when one understands that he's part and parcel, not simply spirit soul, that's just the beginning. Srila Prabhupada explains that it's not enough to simply understand that you're spirit soul, but you have to act as spirit soul. Because understanding your spirit soul, although it's very rare, there are a few that walk the planet understanding that they're eternal. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that out of many thousands of men, one may strive for self-realization, and that self-realization is aham brahmasmi, that I am eternal spirit soul. But he goes on to say that among many of such self-realized souls, hardly one knows me in truth. They understand their own soul, but they don't understand the soul sitting right next to them, inseparable from them as long as they sojourn in this material world, the super soul, Paramatma, Krishna, within the heart. They don't know that they have a subordinate relationship of servant to Krishna, the Master. And often, if they come to understand super soul, having risen above simple gyan, self-realization, but become aware of the super soul, it's not uncommon that such yogis think that they're equal to the super soul, and sometimes mistakenly think themselves the super soul. So this is the last snare of Maya, and actually it's the most offensive. If you understand that God has a form and you want to merge into that form, Srila Prabhupada explains that's the most offensive mentality. But Krishna can reciprocate and reward any desire one might have. I mean, we merge back into the body of the Lord at the end of the universal annihilation. And we fall asleep in ignorance. And until he breathes out again, and the universe is manifest, we remain unconscious, completely unconscious. And there are those who want that. So anyway, self-realization is the first step, and Krishna consciousness is the perfection of liberation and self-realization. So in Krishna consciousness, we may be simply practicing the process, and we listen very carefully to the knowledge shared with us in srimadbhagavatam. Here Lord Brahma, the Adi Sampradaya Guru, our founder Acharya in this Sampradaya we belong to, he's teaching. So we should listen very carefully to what he has to share. So he's saying, don't sweat the small stuff. And in actuality, that's a modern colloquial saying. But it actually applies to the fact that everything in this material world is small. It all has no value whatsoever if it's outside of the service of the Lord. Because anything outside the service of the Lord is simply ignorance. And ignorance is the cause of all unhappiness and misery. So, this process of Krishna consciousness, even though we're practicing it with minimal, and I'm speaking personally, minimal realization of the, spiritual reality, who I am, and the process of eternal, transcendental devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Simply by practicing it, these processes, 9 processes of bhakti, hearing, as we are right now, or I'm speaking, chanting, trying to absorb it and remember it, later share it, etc. These processes, they purify the heart. And they bring us to a platform of goodness that make us more qualified to accept the simplest of things, that we're the eternal servant of Krishna. It's as simple as anything. But because we've been conditioned since time immemorial, then we find it much more challenging and difficult. And so we follow the instructions of Guru, Shastra, the Lord. And this purifies us. The more we become purified, the more we embrace, the more we apply, and the realizations come by the grace of Krishna and Guru. And when we found that there is no happiness in this material world outside of devotional service, when we find that, oh, wow, all my attempts to be something or someone other than the eternal servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord simply brings misery, then when we commit ourselves and throw ourselves into the process of devotional service, then devotional service and advancement in it becomes very rapid. Getting over the hump of being fixed in the conviction, the faith that Krishna is God. Not me, not anybody else. Krishna. He created everything. He owns everything. He is meant to enjoy everything. When we accept that, then we'll become peaceful. Then we can become blissful. Then we can be reinstated in our eternal relationship with Krishna. So the karmis, the non-devotees, the conditioned souls, they are trying their best to fulfill their desires. But we are being baffled at every turn. Now, when you come to devotional service, it's much more of a tightrope, a razor's edge, the example is given. Because you want to serve Krishna to the best of your ability. My goodness. You have services and you want to accomplish them. But sometimes it just doesn't work out. And we're meant to be perceptive. We're meant to have common sense. And such qualities come through obedience to the instructions of the spiritual master, through experience of following the process of Krishna consciousness. Krishna really makes everything crystal clear to his devotees. Writing is on the wall, what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And when we try our best to do something and just despite our best endeavor it doesn't take place, then that's when this comes into play. Hey, if Krishna's not going to let it happen, it's not going to happen. We could use countless examples. Sometimes the demons, they overtake the heavenly planets, interplanetary warfare. And sometimes the demigods, King Indra, what a pious soul he is. To have the piety to become the king of heaven, to be a servant, a manager in behalf, of the Lord, to control all the rain. Without water, without rain, who can live? To be the figure in any sacrifice, the number one figure below only basically Krishna or Vishnu. When they perform these yajnas, Indra is a prominent figure of pleasing. He gets his cut first of the offerings and all the other demigods follow. He's the king. So, my point was going to be that what was it going to be? As building upon that, I do remember the thread that it's very clear to those who are devotees. They know what they should do and what they shouldn't do. It's based upon practice and realization. So anyway, what a pious person Indra is. And he should know what to do and what not to do. But here, he's amazing. He's a conditioned soul like you and I. Highly elevated, far more superior to us in every sense of the terms, far more elevated than we are, but we see he continually screws up, trying to kill the Vrajvasis. Boy, that's as drastic as it gets. Trying to punish Krishna for taking away his yajna, trying to steal the sacrificial horse from Maharaj Prithu's 100th Ashvamedha Yajna. And why was that? It's because it's understood from Shastra, if you can perform 100 Ashvamedha Yajnas, impossible in Kali Yuga. Impossible. Possible to perform even one. But in previous ages, certain empowered and pious living entities, kings, could do such. And if you performed 100, you know what you qualify for? To get the post of King of Heaven. Now, Indra's got the post. And you're not taking it away from me, King Prithu, you mere human being. This is my job. This is my position. And all the perks that go along with it, all the worship, all the respect, all the enjoyment, all the power. So he's attached. And we tried delineating as a foundation of the class that material attachment simply brings misery. So he has to be taught a lesson. Well, the lesson, Maharaj Prithu, who, by the way, is also an incarnation of the Lord. He's a Shakya Vaishavatar. The lesson he wants to teach him, I'm going to kill you. You perform these acts of irreligion. You try to thwart my devotion, my services to the Lord. I'm going to kill you. And if anyone can make such a decision, it's the king. He has the power to decide. Of course, that's with the council of the Brahmins and his advisors. But he has the ability in a monarchy to spare a life or to take a life. And he can do so with impunity. And it's understood that if he's performing his service properly, there's no reaction. He's not punished. He's the lawmaker, the law preserver, and if he breaks one or two, what's to be said or done? Nothing. So anyway, Brahma steps in and says, you can't kill him. Come on. He's an empowered servant of the Lord. What are you thinking? That's the nature of anger. Maharaj Prithu thought his anger was righteous. In a sense it was. You can certainly make a case for it. But I'd like to kind of step into this realm, and it's somewhat pertinent because, once again we have another devotee, without mentioning names, who has performed activities that are discouraging and harmful to other devotees, and so management has to step in. A Kshatriya means one who protects. And management is supposed to do that. Management is supposed to think of us as their children, sons and daughters, and we should be protected. We should be given full facility for devotional service. And so it's not a fun job, and it's not easy to do, because in essence, when we have not had spiritual realization of I am the eternal servant of the Lord, when one has not stepped onto the Brahmabhuta platform, the platform that is the foundation for pure bhakti, then of course we're still influenced by our perceptions and understanding of the scripture and the instructions of the spiritual master. We still are influenced to some degree by modes, most of us certainly. And in this material world, justice is about punishing the wrong and rewarding the right. And in morality, that's the way it is, and it should be. But on the spiritual platform, forgiveness is part and parcel of the love that you feel for all others, because they are also part and parcel of Krishna. That was the verse where Brahma was saying, he's part and parcel, you're part and parcel, you're equal. You're connected, you're family, you're both very dear to the Lord. How could you punish him? Well, if anybody could punish him, Prithu Maharaj, he had a claim. But his superior, and we aren't there yet, but Maharaj Prithu will take the good advice. Vaisheshika Prabhu is the one who shared it with the devotees, our society, having heard it from another person, where he said, I live to be instructed. I live to be corrected. That was it. I live to be corrected. Vaishnava is very humble, very respectful and submissive to the authorities. When there is pride, thinking, I know what's right, and I'm in the position, etc., anything, pride of anything practically, then that eclipses the ability to hear the instruction properly with common sense and realization. It eclipses the ability to see the writing on the wall. It blocks the ability to hear what Guru and Chaita Guru are trying to direct us to do or not to do. But I could use so many examples, but time won't allow. I hope you'll give me some allowance, because I know Bhakti Jamal is not finished yet. So, like one time a devotee, a treasurer, was caught stealing money from the temple. Man, you read the pastime of King Nriga, to steal from Krishna or Krishna's Brahmins, his servants, very bad. Animal birth practically assured, minimum. Hellish punishment in the hellish planets for who knows how long. Oh man, scripture, Manu Samhita, oh man, you don't even want to hear. Torturous. So anyway, they brought him to Prabhupada. They told Srila Prabhupada about him, rather. He's stealing. What should we do? Prabhupada said, there's only one thing we can do. Anybody know what he said? Forgive him. What? That flies in the face of everything that we are conditioned to think. Because morality and justice, that's not moral or justice. Or just? No, it's transcendental. It's on the platform of love. spiritual love for Krishna and his parts and parcels. Another time, a man was going by the name of Achyutananda in India, early days of ISKCON in India. Achyutananda was a sannyasi, and he was like King Indra, dressed up as a sannyasi. You can take the root of that taking place from this pastime. Indra pretended he was a sannyasi. And this man was going around collecting from innocent people, saying he was collecting for ISKCON, in life membership. The man had nothing to do with ISKCON besides being a parasite and scamming the society. Finally, they caught him. They took him to Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur. Said, this man has been collecting for a long time as Achyutananda Swami and collected so much. Srila Prabhupada was ready, well then call the police. Very serious. He was in a different category than the treasure, because the treasure was a devotee. This man, what kind of devotee? He wasn't a member of our society anyway. He wasn't a subordinate, a ward of Srila Prabhupada, as was the thief who had the treasury service. So anyway, Prabhupada said, call the police. This man immediately fell down paying dandavats. Forgive me, please, forgive me. I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again. Being in your presence, I've had a change of heart. I want to surrender to you. I want to accept you as my spiritual master. So, not that hard to figure out. Srila Prabhupada said, okay. You stay here in Mayapur and you perform service. Chant Hare Krishna and do services. And that's what he did for a little bit. Because he was simply doing what he needed to get his head off the chopping block, not go to jail, one morning he started sneaking out and run away from the compound to escape. Because he didn't really want to surrender or engage in services in the society. He was a rascal. So they caught him with his little bag, suitcase, or whatever it might have been. And they took him to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, you begged for forgiveness, you begged for the opportunity to serve, and I gave it to you, but now you've thrown it away. Call the police. And they did, and they put him in jail. So it's a real tightrope. For those of us who don't have managerial service, we're in a category where it's a lot easier to look at others' decisions and actions. But we should be very, very careful when we try to judge what others are doing, especially in managerial capacity, because they've taken a superior role of responsibility. But still, for all of us, we should judge ourselves harshly and others very leniently. That's a quote of Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas. And it applies in managerial services too. But Srila Prabhupada was expert, being a prema bhakta, an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. He could encourage, give shelter to, protect, engage the individual while simultaneously satisfying the masses, protecting them and keeping them peaceful. Because if Srila Prabhupada decided to bring somebody in his entourage, you're having trouble with your godbrothers, you're having difficulty in your Krishna consciousness, then come associate with me. Stay with me. He would give them his association and service. He always was thinking about the devotional opportunities for every living entity. And that's the spiritual platform. That love, compassion and forgiveness is just part and parcel of it. It's natural. It's what you first think of. I could quote about 2 or 3 pastimes of Prabhupada blowing the minds of the GBC, saying, forgive him. Because it just doesn't enter your mind if you're not on that platform. Not unless you've totally surrendered to Guru and Gauranga and are in tune with their mission, with their mood, because of their mercy and your realizations. So anyway, Prithu's not going to kill him. Don't be attached. You tried your best. Don't be angry. Srila Prabhupada one time, I've said the example in this chair here in this temple, performing a deity installation. How important is that in trying to please Radha and Krishna? It was in Amsterdam. And they were totally spaced out. They didn't have anything together. And it was Dutch TV was there, national TV, and recording the whole thing. And Srila Prabhupada comes in and he sees it's a disaster, and he becomes furious. He could care less he's on camera. He starts yelling, chastising, giving instruction what to do, and then when they bungle the instruction and do what's wrong, he really becomes totally, transcendentally furious. At one point, a hippie, an uninitiated devotee, someone who appreciated the Devotees Association, who was chanting Hare Krishna, he had a bead bag, and he was just spaced out chanting there in the whole. And he said, "Why are you angry? You should be chanting Hare Krishna." Can you imagine instructing Srila Prabhupada? And Prabhupada took the instruction immediately. Stopped giving all the orders. He just sat down and started chanting. Took it as Krishna's direction. This is the example that we should all aspire for. If someone gives us a tip, an encouragement, an instruction, or even chastisement in Krishna consciousness, we should try and see the value of it. The false ego doesn't like that. Pride does not like that. Who are you to instruct me? Don't you know who I am? How long I've been a devotee? Don't you recognize my position? Blah, 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 blah. But no, humility. That I'm the servant of the servant of the servants. And with that mentality, then you can respect all others. And you can see Krishna guiding you through others, through everyone and everything, because the Lord, Chaitya Guru, spiritual master, they are present in everything for the surrendered souls, for the surrendered disciples. So Srila Prabhupada epitomized that. Maharaj Prithu is going to measure up. He's going to back off. He's going to be satisfied. So many points could be, and probably have been churned in this pastime, but he was attached to fulfilling his vow of 100 yagyas. But in one sense, we have to also be careful. In the Bhagavad Gita, it says, you cannot be attached or averse to the regulations that are meant for controlling the senses. And Prabhupada gives the example that even on a royal highway, an accident can take place. If we become attached to the rules and regulations rather than staying focused on what they're meant for, which is becoming purified and pleasing Krishna, the spiritual master, and their servants. If we just become attached to the regulation and the physical enactment of the process of Krishna consciousness, we'll cheat ourselves out of the nectar that the Lord is trying to share or give to us, that the spiritual master is trying to give to us. We always should be mindful. We do the same things every day. I love the regulation of sadhana bhakti. Oh, what a comfort, what a life jacket. It keeps our head above water, especially when you're not in the association of devotees, especially when you're not able to attend the temple functions properly. And Prabhupada, although he created the society with its temples to give us association, he knew, he even told Jayapataka in Brahmachari at the time, in 1969 on a morning walk, he said, "See all these houses? In the future, most of the devotees will be living away from and outside of the temples in their own houses like this." And in 1969, if you left the temple, you were blooping. You were in Maya. It took some time for the movement to shift the paradigm and to accept the reality at a point where most of our devotees are going to be congregational members. And those who live in the temple, they have to switch the roles in becoming counselors too, and supporters, facilitators for the congregation to learn the process of Krishna consciousness, to facilitate, encourage them how to do devotional service at home. Many times Prabhupada said, if you're following the rules and regulations in your own home, away from the temple, then that's just as good as anyone living in the temple. The process works for everyone who applies it. And nothing of this world, no time, no space, nothing of material energy can thwart anyone whose desire is determined and properly focused on surrendering to the spiritual master's instructions. Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. We need this movement. And simultaneously we have to understand the purpose of the movement and the essence of the movement and take that from the movement. And any shortcomings of the Prabhus, the members of the movement, are in the managerial duties of the leaders of our movement. If it's something less than standard, less than the standard of pure devotional service, then you pray for, you tolerate and pray for. Because Krishna is in control. Not you, not me, not anybody else. Krishna. And we have statements from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. This world is perfect. Isha Vasham Idam Sarvam. It's perfect and complete, and everything, all emanations from the perfect and complete, are perfect and complete in themselves. There's no need for any of us to try and better it. Our duty is to better ourselves. And once we become better and purified, then the only purpose of the devotees to traverse the planet is they simply want to help others become devotees, to reawaken to who they are and engage in Krishna's service. So anyway, these are a few thoughts on the subject matter. I'll open the floor for discussion if you would like to make any points or have any questions in this regard. I know I kind of threw a lot of spices in that prep. Any question or comment?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. This question, you mentioned that by performing this Ashwamedha sacrifice, that person would attain the position of
100 of them.
100 of them. This person would attain the post of the King of Heaven.
Becomes qualified to become Indra. Yeah, it's in Prabhupada's books.
Was that Maharaj Prithu's intention?
I doubt it.
He was just doing it for the Lord's pleasure.
The purpose of any leader is to lead and to set the example. Whatever a great man does, common men follow. He knew that. He lived up to that. And he was showing that if all you have is your garden with flowers and fruits, then offer that to the Lord. If you're the king and have the world, offer the world to the Lord. If you have the opulence to perform Ashvamedha Yajna, then you do that. Your surrender, although Krishna looks at everything we do, sometimes it's said he looks at what we hold back and don't do. So if you have, like our godbrother, Ambarish Prabhu, he's a multi-millionaire and he's given millions, millions, 20 plus, 30, I don't know, I've heard different figures, but millions of dollars for the completion of the temple that Srila Prabhupada desired to be built in Mayapur, our world headquarters, TOVP. So he's done that. Others could do it. Others have money like him, but he's done it. So that's full surrender, to use everything you have. So Maharaj Prithu, he is a Shaktivash, he is an empowered incarnation of the Lord, so he's acting properly. His motive is not fruitive, even though in the previous purport there was some mention, although you're doing it to please the demigods. Well, it's like Bhagavad Gita. We don't think in terms of the Prabhus or Mahajans in the Bhagavatam did. Previous ages, etc. Like this morning you read the ISKCON Desire Tree. We Vaishnavas, we don't observe Lakshmi Puja. Today's Lakshmi Puja. So we don't generally observe that. You go to Mayapur, all the Dhamvasis, they're definitely observing it. That's today, yesterday for them. You go to Vrindavan, let's take Krishna Leela, they observed all the traditional and religious performances of worshipping the demigods and what have you. But they did so, the gopis, to get Krishna as their husband, worshipped Katyayani, which someone without hearing from the acharyas would think they were worshipping Maya Devi, but she is an expansion of Yoga Maya. The spiritual maidservant of the Lord, who controls, who arranges for the service of the Lord, everything in the service of the Lord. So these devotees, when they perform these activities, they do it knowing that these are the servants of Krishna. Prabhupada was so strict because it's so easy to get watered down and misguided. And it's so easy to get allured into the fulfillment of material desires. Kamaishtashtai ritigyana prapadyantena devata. When you have that material desire, and I can go to this demigod and instant gratification. I mean, we like that in this Kali Yuga. Instant, fast food, fast service, instant gratification. So the pure devotees, the Dhamvasis, they don't think that way when they perform the cultural activities of worshipping the demigods on their days. But Krishna, to show the world and the ensuing, devotees in Kali Yuga, no, worship me. Forget the demigods. They're my servants. They're the middleman. You can cut them out. But in cutting them out, we don't become disrespectful. We may not do a Lakshmi Puja, and have Lakshmi and offer the artik and this and that. We worship Radha and Krishna. Mahalakshmi and her Lord. We keep them together. So anyway, you see how I'm kind of showing how the different mentality in the past. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, in the beginning of creation, I sent forth generations of men and demigods and said, be thou happy by the performance of this sacrifice, because by its performance all desires will be fulfilled. So it's part of Vedic culture. I mean, you're supposed to be subordinate and respectful of everyone superior to you, and certainly the demigods who control the heat, light, and etc. They are our superiors, and we're dependent upon them and should be totally respectful, but all in the proper perspective. And you don't get that proper perspective unless you're under the tutelage of a pure Vaishnava in disciplic succession. A little long-winded, but hey, haven't been here in a while. Let's see if this helps.
Hare Krishna. It's better. Can you try turning it on again? Let's see if it interferes.
What's your comment?
Okay. It's a good point. I like the point that you just recently made right now. How, even we should always forgive. How you're mentioning that the transcendental person isn't affected, isn't judging the person if you did do some wrong mishap. Like Srila Prabhupada was always trying to, because he was a well-wisher, a compassionate person, seeing this all, and we see Indra. He's obviously not leading, what is a Krishna conscious person, a person in his position has great power and influence to elevate the people beneath him. But the citizens, or the demigods beneath him, whoever, it's not their position to judge, right?
No.
Because I remember reading in when Maharaj, or when King Vena, when he was in charge, even though he was creating so much mishap, still the citizens offered respect to him.
Yeah.
And it would be improper for them to criticize.
Yeah.
But we see the opposite in modern times. So would you be able to elaborate on still maintaining that level of respect and well-wishing mentality, even despite...
I'll do my best, but one short, I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's not that Srila Prabhupada doesn't judge. We all should judge. That's using intelligence for critical analysis and conclusion. It's not that we don't judge, but his motive was never vindictive. He was never thwarted. He was never threatened. He was never harmed by somebody else falling into Maya, because he was Krishna conscious. And if we're secure in our Krishna consciousness, there's nothing that anybody else can do to discourage us. Bhagavad Gita, once again, once having tasted that highest pleasure, one never is deviated, even for a moment, from it. He never gives it up. You've found yourself in your relationship, your eternal service with the Lord. Nothing compares. So it's all love from there. So Prabhupada would always act with the motive of helping the person. And sometimes helping the person can even mean killing them. It's not our position. We'll never have that service. But, Krishna was telling Arjuna, you kill them all. If you think you're the killer or they're killed, you're a fool. You speak learned words, but you're a fool. The soul's never killed. It's never born, never dies. I want it to happen. So the pure Vaishnava knows what Krishna wants. Krishna wants all of us. All of us. The Hitlers, the Mussolinis, the Gaddafis, the Saddam Husseins, the Bin Ladens, you and me. He wants all of us to come back home, back to Godhead. Because he loves us all. So, but sometimes somebody does something where they have to be told you can't associate with the Vaishnavas. Or, if you kill or rape somebody, you should be killed. That body should be taken away. You should understand that that was so heinous that, you don't deserve this residency in that human body anymore. And that absolves the living entity of his sinful reactions. It's quick. And as far as that goes, much more painless than...